What happens when love and danger collide in the quiet countryside? CEO Quang and Linda share a perfect day restoring her home and farm, their laughter and happiness lighting up the fields. But as Quang must leave for an important business trip, a shadow from Linda's past lurks nearby, her ex-husband with a dark plan. Will their newfound joy survive the looming threat? Stay tuned to uncover this gripping story of love, trust, and courage. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. CEO Quang arrived at Linda's countryside home early in the morning, the sun just beginning to cast its golden glow over the fields and the rustic farmhouse. The air was fresh and filled with the scent of wildflowers and freshly turned earth. Linda was already outside, her hands busy with small repairs around the garden, but her face lit up the moment she saw Quang step out of his car. There was an unspoken joy between them, a quiet comfort that filled the space as if the world had slowed down just for this moment. Together, they set to work with enthusiasm and laughter. Quang rolled up his sleeves and picked up tools he rarely touched in the corporate world, rediscovering the simple pleasure of hard work alongside someone he cared deeply about. Linda showed him how to mend the broken fence that had kept the animals in, and he carefully followed her instructions, his hands steady but his heart fluttering with every shared smile. They painted the wooden beams of the barn a fresh white, the smell of paint mingling with the morning breeze, and every brushstroke seemed to symbolize a new beginning for them both. As the hours passed, their teamwork became a dance of light-hearted teasing and genuine connection. Quang teased Linda when she accidentally spilled soil on her clothes, and she playfully flicked some dirt back at him. Their laughter echoed through the open fields, blending with the chirping of birds and the gentle rustling of the trees. It was a scene of pure happiness, a sanctuary away from the pressures of the city and the complicated lives they had both endured. Linda prepared a simple lunch with fresh vegetables from her garden, and they sat together on the porch, sharing stories and dreams under the warm afternoon sun. Quang listened intently as Linda spoke of her hopes for the farm, a place not only for work but for peace and healing. He admired her strength and the gentle way she nurtured everything around her, from the plants to the animals and even to the people who came into her life. In that moment, Quang felt a profound gratitude for being part of her world, and a quiet promise blossomed in his heart to protect and cherish her. The afternoon was spent tending to the animals, Quang feeding the chickens and Linda guiding him through the routines. Watching her care for the creatures with such tenderness touched him deeply. He realized that this simple, grounded life was something he yearned for more than he had ever admitted to himself. Every glance they exchanged held a promise, a future built on trust, laughter, and shared joys. As the sun began to set, casting a warm amber light across the farm, Quang and Linda stood side by side, surveying their day's work. The house looked refreshed and full of life, the garden thriving, and the farm buzzing with renewed energy. They felt tired but happy, hearts full and spirits lifted by the quiet magic of a day spent together. For the first time in a long while, the worries of the world felt distant and unimportant. In that serene moment, Surrounded by the fruits of their labor and the promise of tomorrow, Quang knew that this was more than just a project or a favor. It was a new chapter, one where love and happiness could truly take root and grow. And as he held Linda's hand, the future felt bright, hopeful, and filled with endless possibilities. As the soft glow of twilight settled over the farm, painting the sky with hues of pink and lavender, Quang found himself reluctant to say goodbye. The day had been perfect, filled with laughter, shared moments, and a sense of peace that neither of them had experienced in a long time. Yet, as the evening breeze whispered through the trees and the first stars began to twinkle overhead, reality gently tugged at his heart. The responsibilities waiting back in the city, the meetings, the endless calls all called him away from this haven of calm and happiness. Quang stood beside Linda on the wooden porch, their hands still intertwined, the warmth of her touch grounding him. Her eyes sparkled in the fading light, reflecting a mixture of joy and sadness that mirrored his own feelings. "I wish I could stay forever," he whispered softly, almost afraid to break the fragile moment they had built. Linda smiled, a tender curve of her lips that spoke volumes of understanding and hope. "I know," she replied gently, squeezing his hand. "But I'm grateful for today, for everything we shared. It's enough to carry me through the days you're away." Her voice was steady, but Quang could sense the vulnerability beneath, a quiet longing that made his chest ache. He hated the thought of leaving her alone, even for a short time. They stood together in comfortable silence for a while, listening to the distant sounds of the farm settling down for the night, the soft rustle of leaves, the occasional call of an owl, and the faint murmur of the animals resting in their pens. It was as if the world around them was holding its breath, cherishing this moment of connection and warmth. Finally, Quang broke the silence, his voice filled with a promise he hoped to keep. "I'll come back soon, Linda. And when I do, we'll have more days like today, days where nothing else matters except being together." He tucked a stray strand of hair behind her ear, his fingers lingering a moment longer than necessary. "You mean more to me than I can say. I don't want to lose what we've found." Linda's eyes glistened with unshed tears, but her smile remained strong. "Neither do I," she whispered. "You've brought light back into my life. I've waited so long for something like this, someone who sees me, who cares for me. I'm ready to face whatever comes, as long as you're by my side." The evening grew cooler, and Quang reluctantly pulled away to gather his things. Every step toward his car felt heavier, every glance back toward Linda filled with longing. He promised himself he would return quickly, that this distance would be temporary, nothing more than a brief pause in their growing story. As he drove away from the farm, the memories of their day together played vividly in his mind, the way her laughter had lifted his spirits, the softness of her hand in his, the simple joy of working side by side. For the first time in a long while, Quang felt hopeful, grounded by a love that was real and healing. Meanwhile, Linda stood at the edge of the porch, watching his taillights fade into the distance. She wrapped her arms around herself, feeling both the ache of loneliness and the warmth of a love that had blossomed against all odds. She whispered a silent prayer that fate would keep them connected, that their bond would grow stronger even when they were apart. In the quiet of that night, beneath the vast sky dotted with stars, both Quang and Linda held on to the promise of tomorrow. A promise that no matter how far life pulled them apart, their hearts would remain intertwined, bound by the happiness they had found together, and the hope of many more days filled with love and laughter. As the peaceful night embraced the farm, a shadow lurked silently beyond the comforting glow of the porch light. While Quang's car disappeared down the winding road, leaving behind the warmth and laughter of the day, an ominous presence stirred in the darkness: Linda's ex-husband. His eyes, cold and calculating, scanned every corner of the property, masking a dangerous intent beneath a calm exterior. Though the farm seemed a sanctuary of hope and renewal, for him it was a stage for a darker plan. He moved with quiet precision, careful not to alert any neighbors or the animals resting nearby. Every step was deliberate, each movement measured to avoid detection. This wasn't a simple visit, it was reconnaissance, a silent invasion meant to gather information, to find a weakness, to exploit a moment when Linda was most vulnerable. The ex-husband's mind churned with bitter resentment and greed, emotions that had festered since their separation. Quang's presence had been a thorn in his side, a barrier to the control he once wielded over Linda's life. Now that Quang had left, even temporarily, he saw an opportunity he could not ignore. As he circled the house, his gaze lingered on the freshly painted barn and the well-tended garden, signs of new beginnings that only fueled his spite. This wasn't just about reclaiming property or disrupting Linda's newfound happiness. Deep down, there was a darker desire to hurt, to remind her that escape was never truly possible. He knew Linda was strong, but he believed everyone had a breaking point. And he was determined to find hers. Inside the house, Linda sat by the window, unaware of the danger creeping closer. The evening's calm gave way to a faint unease, a whisper at the edge of her mind that something was amiss. She hugged herself tightly, the lingering warmth of Quang's hand still etched in her memory, but a shadow of fear crept into her heart. Though she tried to dismiss it, telling herself it was just the quiet of the countryside playing tricks, the instinct to protect herself flared. Back outside, the ex-husband pulled out his phone, snapping photos of the property and making careful notes. He was methodical, preparing for a move that could shatter the fragile peace Linda had fought so hard to build. His plan was unclear to anyone but himself, a mix of legal threats, manipulation, and possibly even sabotage. He knew the power of a well-timed secret, a whispered lie, a cleverly engineered crisis. With Quang away, he felt emboldened. But he underestimated the strength that now surrounded Linda. Though she was alone tonight, she was no longer the woman he once controlled. There was a quiet resilience in her, born from pain but tempered by hope. And though Quang was away, he had left behind more than just memories. He had ignited a light in Linda that even the darkest shadow could not extinguish. As the night deepened, Linda locked the doors with deliberate care and checked the security system once again. She kept her phone close, fingers trembling slightly, but her spirit remained unbroken. Somewhere far away, Quang would be fighting his own battles, but their hearts were connected by an unyielding bond, one that no threat could sever. Outside, the ex-husband retreated into the darkness, his mind already plotting the next step. The game had only just begun, and the stakes were higher than ever. But as he vanished into the night, the quiet strength in Linda's eyes told a different story, one of courage, love, and an unshakable will to protect the life she was building, no matter the cost.
Bye bye.